Yeah, so I think Davidson with the upset here makes sense. Even though I like both teams, I'm taking the 3 point high upside for this pick in our first double digit upset.
Love it. Love to see the upsets. Duke, Cal State, Fullerton. Cal State Fullerton has been pretty impressive actually down the stretch here. Their record doesn't really show it, 21-10, which is why they ended up being a 15 seed. But um, they're a team that I could see Duke looking past and tripping up at. I hope that's not the case. I'm a Duke fan. I'm hoping Coach K makes a run in his last year there. They just have so many star players on Duke that I just don't see them tripping up against CSU Fullerton here. Keep an eye on AJ Griffin, number 21, Paulo Banquero, number 5, Trevor Keels, number 1, Wendell Moore, number 0. He's got some experience. We got Mark Williams, number 15, the center. I just think they're just too deep to lose round 1 here.
It's Coach K's last season. The NCAA is not going to let him lose in the first round.
I agree. If you play into the aspect of like the NCAA is rigged, there's no chance that he loses to CSU.
That's all I got to say. If they lose in the first round, in the first round. They're not going to lose first round.
Yeah,
Cal State Fullerton would have the Warriors. The Warriors are playing Duke. With Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, they wouldn't lose first round.
I'd be willing.
They would lose first round.
I would be willing to put my firstborn child on Duke money line against CSU Fullerton in round 1 of the NCAA tournament. So if they get upset, that's gonna be a tough conversation to have. But let's move on. I think we all agree that Duke's gonna win.
Yeah. Are we going to stick with the West and finish it out first?
Let's stick with the West region and finish it out here. So Gonzaga versus Memphis. I think this is a more interesting matchup than some people might think. I don't know what you guys think. You got a fly in the room or something, Craig? What's going on?
No, I was just shocked that you said that.
Oh, you just think it's going to be a blowout? I know it's 94-4. How do they even determine that percentages when you don't even know who's going to move on? I don't get it.
It's percentage of people who picked it. So that only adds up to 98. So 2% of the people picked.
Okay, those percentages mean nothing to me then. It's just random people picking.
Oh yeah, games. I thought they were like BPI projections or something like that. So no, the fans users don't know. Pick. The fans aren't listening to us, so that's why these like percentages are skewed. They're not listening to us yet. So
yeah, I'm honestly thinking this is more of like a 70-30 game. Okay, which is giving Memphis a lot of credit because Gonzaga is the number 1 overall seed. They're a tough team. They're 26-3. They've lost to Duke, St. Mary's. Who was the other loss that they had? Alabama?
Yeah, Alabama. Yep.
Okay, so 3 losses to pretty solid teams. I would say St. Mary's was a little bit of a fluke, but St. Mary's is a solid team. And overall here, I think most people are going to move Gonzaga on, but I think it's worth thinking about. I think Memphis will put up a little bit of a fight, but I think Gonzaga moves on.
Yeah, I just think with Gonzaga's experience, the game's going to be probably a 5-point game. Gonzaga lead at half, but then Gonzaga is going to pull away in the second half because Memphis just isn't experienced enough, and Mark Few's, I think, just a better tournament coach than Penny Hardaway.
Okay, I don't disagree.
Let's not overthink this one.
Okay, so imagine the point spread, Josh, is 10.5. Gonzaga minus 10.5. Do you think Gonzaga wins by 11 or more, or do you think it's a closer game?
I think Gonzaga would end up winning by 11 and more, but if I was betting on a first half spread, I would bet the under on the spread in the first half.
Okay, Gonzaga's moving on. Okay, UConn, Arkansas. I think this was a really interesting matchup. I think there's a 4 versus 5 that we have here. I think that what I'm going to ultimately go with is JD Notae, Coach Eric Musselman in Arkansas moving on. But I think UConn puts up a really good fight. I just am concerned that my past thoughts of UConn and their tournament runs is swaying my pick here because I haven't been that impressed with UConn every game that I've watched them this year. I don't think they score as well as they normally do. They have they have a good point guard in RJ Cole that I mentioned earlier, number 2, but beyond that, they don't have that many great scorers. So that's my concern is that Arkansas is going to just be able to play good defense on them, run on them, and end up running them out of the gym and winning this game.
See, I think the game, like I said, the game's in Buffalo, and then the last few times UConn's been in the West region, they end up making the runs. So with Kemba Walker, they were in the West region, made a run, won title. With Shabazz Napier, made a run in 2005 when they won it. 2004, then they won it. They were in the West region, make a run. So I think when they're just in the West, there's something about UConn, and they'll end up winning. This game's in Buffalo too. I think, and then early in the season, UConn, I think, almost beat Alabama, or they did beat out, or no, not Auburn. And so they're used to playing SEC teams. I just think I like UConn in this one. I don't know, Craig. You're the judge, jury, and executioner, I guess, on this.
Shout out Kemba Walker.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go with y'all. I mean, I think I lean towards Arkansas, but or I mean,
Well, Josh and I disagreed, so that's not going.
Yeah,
with,
you
going
can't be
y'all.
with both of us.
yeah,
Pick one. Just go ahead
Arkansas.
and pick one. Okay.
There we go.
Razorbacks.
There we go.
No, I
Razorbacks.
think what I was struggling to say is that, I don't think either of you made a compelling argument, and so I got confused. So I'm going with my heart, and I'm going with the Razorbacks.
Okay, fair enough. Joshua, his argument was that in the past, UConn
Yeah.
has done well in the West division, the West
That's a
region.
terrible argument, but hey,
That's the second or the worst argument.
But I'm glad we tied in arguments. That's great. That's great confidence for my own.
No, I gave you
arguments,
the
too.
edge. I gave you the edge.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have Alabama number 6 versus number 3 Texas Tech. Let's be real here. I just think Texas Tech's defense and the players that they have are just gonna, they're long and athletic. I just think they're gonna have enough defense there to beat Alabama and move on in this game. I don't think that Bama trips them up, and obviously because I had Rutgers beating Alabama in the first round, but I think Alabama has the star power in the backcourt, but I don't think that they can compete with Texas Tech here.
I agree. Alabama's they're good enough for one win in the tournament, but they're too inconsistent to put together 2 wins.
I agree.
I agree as well. David, you gave a shout out to Jarrett Culver earlier. If they were able to make a run with him on their team last year or 2 years ago, they're going to win.
Yeah,
Like they're going to be way better without him.
I feel confident in that. Duke Davidson, 2 versus 10 here. I think this is an interesting matchup. I am hoping as a Duke fan that they don't overlook Davidson or Michigan State, whoever they end up playing. But I think Duke, like I said, with the star power that they have, I think that they've been tripping up towards the end of the season, losing to UNC at the end of the year in Coach K's last home game, and then losing in the championship of the ACC tournament. But here's the thing that people are forgetting when they're talking a lot of trash about Duke and their losses. They lost in the ACC championship. They didn't lose in the first round of the ACC tournament. They lost in the championship. They made it to the championship. They struggled against Virginia Tech, who's extremely hot right now. I think they might have thought that they were just a better team and they could just roll the balls out and beat them. But I think Duke beats Davidson here. Coach K hopefully will address the team and let them know that you can't overlook any team in March, and they take this game seriously.
I agree. Look at the athletes Duke has. Look at the athletes Davidson has. I'll take Duke 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, 10
I think it's
out of 10.
possible.
It's gonna be a
too, with
close
the-
game, but I Duke's gonna win.
It's possible that Duke chokes later in the tournament when there's all that Coach K pressure on them, but they're not. Second round, the pressure's not going to be that high.
Yeah, I think first round, and then I think like Elite 8 on is going to be the real pressure points for Coach
Yeah.
K and Duke. So I think if they can get over that hump of that first round against CSU Fullerton, it's going to be pretty smooth sailing. I guess at least until the Sweet 16. So maybe one game, I guess. So Texas Tech is going to be tough. But okay, let's move up here. So we're in the
1,
Sweet
2, 3,
16
4.
of the West. We got all the favorites moving on. That's Craig's fault. He's the ultimate picker here. But Gonzaga versus Arkansas. I think this is an interesting matchup. I don't think Arkansas can hang with Gonzaga. I don't think they have the players to keep up. I think that JD Notte would have a good game. I don't think Gonzaga's guards are that great. But the big men and the front court on Gonzaga is just too talented and too, I guess, skilled and experienced to lose to Arkansas here.
Yeah, this one's a tough one. I think Eric Musselman's going to get his team hyped, like you said, but I think, like you said, the big guys inside, Chet Holmgren and Timmy, that's how you say his last name, right? Timmy.
Yeah.
So I just think too much experience. Gonzaga's going to try to right the wrong. They lost last year, so I think they win.
Yeah, I don't see Arkansas hanging for a full game, full 40 minutes. Okay. This is a tough one. This is a really tough one for me. I got number 2 Duke versus number 3 Texas Tech. This is one that I've gone back and forth on. Even look, the user pick, the fans are struggling with it as well. It's a tough one. I think Texas Tech brings a lot to the floor from a defensive standpoint that can really trip Duke up. However, I think Duke overpowers them from an offensive standpoint that I don't think Texas Tech can keep up with if Duke is hitting their shots. So ultimately, I've decided that I would pick Duke to move on. I think Paulo Banchero has a big tournament and a big game. Trevor Keels bounce backs and have a great tournament here. Wendell Moore has the experience that he's bringing in. I think they have a bad taste in their mouth from not making the tournament last year. I think Duke advances here against Texas Tech.
See, I disagree. You said Duke overpowers them with their offense. Texas Tech has the #1 defense in the country.
I know, and that's a great
So they
point.
just get like my point is
Good offense
And-
beats good defense.
that true?
What did you
Or-
say,
I mean,
Craig?
or
Craig,
is that
you
your
said
show?
good offense meets good defense.
Beats good defense. Yeah, offense is more
Beats.
important. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a bold statement.
Okay,
I don't know
so
if
how
that's
did
necessarily
Virginia?
true.
How did Virginia win the title in 2019 then?
Well, they had Kyle Guy and
But they were the #1 defense in the country, and their offense points per possession was like in the hundreds.
I'm just
I
worried.
think
Points per
it's-
possession.
I mean, in a one game tournament, what'd you say? Points per possession in a 1-game tournament. I mean, it's hard to say whether defense or offense is more important in this, but I think Texas Tech's defense is, how should I say this? It's high enough to where it's more consistent than Duke. I don't think Duke I'm looking at. I mean, Duke's a good offense. They're a top 10 offense, but they play against ACC schools. They're playing against Miami. Miami's got like 10 fans in their stadium. Like, I
Okay.
just don't think the ACC is that good, to be honest with you.
Listen, I see your argument. ACC is really weak this year. Big 12 is really strong this year. Texas Tech's definitely had like a more difficult run, I think. However, I think if Duke is humming on all cylinders, I think that their offense is going to be really hard to stop. Even though Texas Tech has an excellent defense, I'm more so thinking of keeping up with Duke's offense rather than like I just don't see Texas Tech being able to keep up offensively unless they keep this game in like the 60s or the low 60s. I don't see Texas Tech beating Duke here.
I made my decision.
Let's go. Okay, big game here. We got the Elite Eight, Gonzaga versus Duke. This is a really tough matchup. I think they played earlier this year at the beginning of the season, and Duke edged them by a short margin. However, I think this is where Coach K and Duke's season ends. I think Gonzaga just has, with the experience of Drew Timme and the strength down low, and then Chet Holmgren and the coaching of Mark Few, I think that Coach K ends his career here in the Elite Eight and loses to Gonzaga, the #1 overall seed, and Gonzaga moves on to the Final Four.
Yeah, between those two teams, I agree. Gonzaga, I think Gonzaga is a better team.
The thing that I do think that Duke has the advantage in is guard play. I think that obviously from a big standpoint, Gonzaga has the edge, but I think from a guard standpoint, I think Duke has the edge with Trevor Keels, Wendell Moore, Jeremy Roach. I think that they have more talent, definitely from a guard standpoint, and if they can hit shots, they have a chance here to beat them again. But I just think it's hard to beat a team twice.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a rematch. That's why I'm favorite. Gonzaga's gonna. I think Gonzaga learns a lot from that first game. And the first game was an early December game or late November game. So
yeah, late November. It was I think Duke won by 3. It was a really close game. I could see Gonzaga edging them out here.
I was going to give it to you, David, if you would have argued for him.
I know, but I think Gonzaga wins this one. As much as it hurts me and hurts my heart, I think they win this one.
Goodbye, Coach K. See you later.
Okay, should we move on?
Yeah, let's do it. To the south?
Yeah. Or do you want to go down? Either way, let me know.
Let's go south.
Okay. It's messing up my notes, but that's fine. We'll go to the south. #1, Arizona versus number 16, Wright State. I don't think there's a whole bunch to stay here. Or wait, yeah, Wright State. Okay. I don't think there's a whole bunch to say here. Arizona, they're a really complete team. They have one of the best players in the country, Benedict Mathurin, number 0. Keep an eye on that guy. He's going to be an absolute star in this tournament, I think. They have a really athletic Dalen Terry. They're coached by Tommy Lloyd. He's done a really good job stepping in for Sean Miller, who is an iconic college basketball coach. One of the greatest sweaters of all time in college basketball. That guy would sweat like nobody's business, through his dress shirts and through his suits. But I think Arizona just dominates them here. I think whatever their spread is, if it's anything, 19 or greater, I think I pick Arizona here.
1/16, Arizona.
Not much to add. Yeah.
Already picked.
Yeah, Craig didn't even have to. You made such a good argument. You went ahead and picked it.
Okay, we got number 8 Seton Hall versus number 9 TCU. This is a tough one for me. I don't have much experience watching Seton Hall this year. I have watched a little bit of TCU. They're really long, really athletic. They've had some impressive wins. They beat KU. I know that probably stings for you, Josh, but they've had a couple good wins. They beat Texas Tech. They beat Texas, LSU, Oklahoma, Iowa State. They're a really balanced team, I think. So I'm picking Texas Tech or TCU, excuse me, to beat Seton Hall here.
Yeah, I agree with you. TCU, they got hot late and they have a lot of. They're kind of a tough matchup problem because they got like 2 6'10". Like one of the guys is pretty bulky, like 300-pounder. So I think Seton Hall is not used to playing like that type of physicality. So I kind of like TCU as well. Again, 8-9 games are hard to pick. I don't remember how Seton Hall did in the Big East tournament, but TCU beat Texas, which was a good win. So I think they're playing well at the right time, and I think TCU wins.
TCU, I think the Big 12 is also just a much stronger conference than the Big East. TCU's, faced the gauntlet of the Big 12, and they've had a couple big upsets. I'm worried about their skills as shooters, as a team from the 3-point line and from the free throw line, but I think that they edge Seton Hall here due to athleticism. Okay, moving on. We got number 5 Houston versus number 12 UAB. This is an interesting one. Josh, what are your thoughts before I go into it?
I got Houston. I think they have their last year they played in the Final Four. They got a lot of guys back. Played Americans a decent conference. Pretty consistent offense and defense. They're top 12 in the nation, like points per possession on offense, and then least points allowed on defense. So I think they're probably an underseeded team. I don't know who UAB's best win is, to be honest. I'm pretty sure UAB just won a conference championship game by scoring like 42 points, if I'm not mistaken. So with that being said, 42 points doesn't get it done against Houston.
I tend to agree. This one I want to take an extra second to chat about because I think Houston moves on. I think Houston moves on pretty handedly here. However, I want everybody listening to keep an eye on number 10 for UAB, Jordan Walker. His nickname Jelly Walker. Shout out Jelly from Drake, I think was his nickname. That guy was something else. But anyways, Jordan Walker's averaging 20 points per game. As you can see there, like he's a great player, great guard. He's a Kemba Walker-esque player that can really make a difference in a game in the tournament. However, I just think like he doesn't have enough support that like a Kemba Walker type player would have on a UConn versus a UAB. So I think Houston with their athleticism, their length, their defense, I think they move on pretty easily here.
Bummer because the Dragons are cool, but
I know it's a bummer, and I keep an eye on Jelly Walker to make an impact because I think he can, but not
that's
enough.
That's a good shout.
Number 4 Illinois versus number 13 Chattanooga. Again, this is a tough one for me. I think Chattanooga you probably haven't heard about much, but they actually have a pretty solid team with a couple transfers helping them be more experienced, more talented than you might think. And this is hard for me to say because I have Illinois going pretty far in my personal brackets. But if you were to pick an upset, I don't think picking Chattanooga over Illinois is a crazy move here. Here's a couple names that you might recognize. Silvio De Sousa. He's number 22 on Chattanooga. He is from Kansas, a transfer from Kansas. So you got Malachi Smith that you see there, 20 points per game, transfer from Dayton. And David Jean Baptist, number 3, is a point guard that is a solid player as well. So they have a lot of good talent that you usually overlook in a 13 seed. But I love Illinois in this tournament and their team and their roster. They struggled last year. They tripped up against Sister Jean. She put a spell on them, but they got Kofi Coburn, who's one of the best players in the country, big man, number 21. They got Trent Frazier, number 1, experienced point guard leading the way. Alfonso Plummer can hit a 3 from pretty much anywhere at any time of the game. And Andre Curbelo is a really volatile player, pretty hit or miss, but I just think Illinois has enough star power to move on here.
Illinois, I have Chattanooga with the upset for like you said, with the transfers. Illinois lost to Indiana first round of the tournament by 2. They beat Iowa. The previous game, they beat Iowa by 2. Then they beat Penn State, not a very good team, by 5. Lost to Michigan, who lost like 15 games this season. Or no, they beat Michigan barely, then lost to Ohio State. So they're just a very inconsistent team to me. I think if it's close, Chattanooga can pull out the victory. And I think all you have to do if you're Chattanooga, Silvio De Sousa can at least kind of somewhat neutralize that Kofi Cockburn. So if you shut him down, like I don't think Illinois knows how to play without him.
pronounced Coburn. This show is
Coburn?
for the kids, so just
Okay,
just
my bad.
keep that PG
I thought
there.
it was
But
my bad.
but no, I don't disagree with your argument. I think if you were to pick an upset and look at this game, I don't think picking Chattanooga over Illinois is a terrible decision. They have a lot of talent. The transfers coming in. It's not just a random mid-major team. You know, they have Power 5 talent on that roster, and I could see them getting an upset. So, you know, I wouldn't be mad at you, Craig, if you pick Chattanooga here.
Well, I'm glad you're not going to be mad at me because I'm picking Chattanooga to win.
Okay. I get that.
I just think
you're a
it's
huge
March, there's
13.
madness.
You're a huge 13/4 guy too.
Yeah. Well, I think there's going to be one, and I think this is the most likely one.
I know you already picked it, but I'm just going to give my last 2 cents. I think that a lot of those players that I listed off for Illinois were on the roster last year. They have a bad taste in their mouth from last year. They were a number 1 seed, I think, last year in the tournament. So I think that they're going to come out firing. They're really inconsistent this year, like you said, Josh, which scares me. But I think that they have enough talent and enough experience to make a run in the tournament. Anyways, we got number 6 Colorado State versus number 11 Michigan. This is an interesting one. Shout out Nico Medved, the ultimate snake of the year for leaving Drake, but I'm glad he did because we got Darian DeVries out of it, and in a turn Tucker DeVries as well. So I'm glad he left. Good riddance. He's done a great job in Colorado State, though, I will say. Here's a really good player for Colorado State I want you guys to keep an eye on is David Roddy, number 21. He's a great player for them, kind of a 3/4 type player. He can score, he can hit free throws, he can kind of do everything. He's averaging about 20 points per game, as you can see. Really solid player, but I have Michigan edging him here. I just think Michigan, you know, with Hunter Dickinson, I don't think Colorado State can have any guy that can guard him. He's a dominant center in the Big Ten. They've been through, like we said, the Big Ten, you know, the gauntlet that it is, and I just think their strength of schedule is more challenging. They've had tougher opponents, and I just think they're more proven.
Juwan Howard displays his dominance by knocking out Nico Medved in the first round.
Let's go.
I do agree with you. Michigan, I think that was it David Roddy. I think he's like an undersized, like tweener big man who can shoot. And I think Michigan's got the athletes to probably cover him. So I think if you shut him down, I think Michigan kind of wins this game. And 6 and 11 seeds, like I think I like a Power 5 team in this. I know it's going against my logic earlier, but this is one of those examples. Michigan's lost to a lot of good teams. So I think Nico Medved's never coached in the tournament. I got Michigan. I saw Craig picked really early, but I did have Michigan winning.
I'm not picking Nico Medved to win anything.
They're
going to lose by. I'm picking Michigan State to win by 50.
Yeah, no, I think Michigan has a lot of good players, and they just like didn't play very well as a team together. Hunter Dickinson, their best player and one of the candidates for player of the year, was out a lot of the beginning of the season. They've been really inconsistent. They're number 11 seed, as you can see. I think they're a little underseeded here, but I think they move on.
Yeah.
Okay. We got Tennessee, number 3 seed versus number 14 Longwood. I don't know anything about Longwood.
Hey,
I'll be honest.
Before you go, the only thing I know about Longwood is I was working out in the game. They were putting their championship game was on, and I saw this dude with the dreads cross someone up and dunk, and I was pretty impressed. That's my only experience with them, but I still take Tennessee. Even though they're a good team, I still take Tennessee. I think they're hot right now, and Tennessee, I think this is the year they kind of get over the hump because they lose in the first round. They lost to Loyola one year in 2018 when they were a good team. So I think they carry that momentum from the SEC championship, and they should beat the 14 seed.
Yeah, well said. Tennessee is really just on fire towards the end of the year. They ran through the SEC tournament pretty handedly, I would say. I had A&M with the points in the championship of the SEC game, and they Tennessee blew them out of the water. They're red hot. Keep an eye on number 30, Josiah Jordan James. He's a really good player, kind of a 3 small forward, freak athletic talent that he has. And Kennedy Chandler, number 1, is their leading scorer, I think at about 15 points per game. Keep an eye on that guy. I think they edge Longwood here pretty handedly. Love the name. It's what they called me in high school. But anyways, I think Tennessee moves on. Number 7, Ohio State versus number 10, Loyola Chicago. I want to hear your thoughts on this one, Josh.
You know, this one, I just think Loyola is a great tournament team. And I know that's like an easy answer to like always pick the team that's a good tournament team. But I think their defense and their defensive style and their just grinded out style, a bunch of seniors, I think they beat Ohio State because Ohio State really doesn't have that much. Experience is a big factor to me. Ohio State doesn't have that experience, and then they get stuck offensively. I think this game is going to be close in the 50s or 60s, and Loyola just edges it out with their defense. I hate to say that too, because like they beat Drake. So
I know. I think that this year I'm leaning Ohio State in this game. I think I like Loyola. I love their defensive mind. Drew Valentine's done a really good job with their team, but at the same time, the Missouri Valley was pretty weak this year. We're a one bid league. Unfortunately, Drake did not make it to the tournament, but with Missouri Valley, you'd like to see Loyola have a better record than 25-7 going through the Missouri Valley. They had a couple tough out of conference games, which I will tip my cap to them. I like Ohio State here. I think that they do have some experience. They have EJ Liddell, who's really an All-American talent at the 4, and I think that Ohio State edges them. I think a lot of people are going to be picking the 10 over the 7 with Loyola here. Sister Jean does have some magic, but she's getting old, getting a little dusty. I just think Ohio State wins this game.
This is the year that karma kicks him in the butt for leaving the MVC.
Yeah,
The Ohio State's going to win this game.
okay.
I think it's tough though, Josh. You bring up a good point. I mean, they're a good defensive team and they're a good three-point shooting team. And like, those are things that, mid-major team can carry with them to the Sweet 16, Elite 8. But I think their magic's running dry.
And again, 7-10, it's a coin flip.
Yeah, it's
I'm
tight.
good with Ohio.
And-
It's hard to pick.
And I think, Dave, that was a really good point where MVC was down this year. They barely beat Drake. And I think Drake played a poor game and they didn't have one of their best players.
And Drake swept them during the regular season.
Yeah. Like, I
I don't
think
think
that
I don't
this
think
Loyola
that's-
team is weak compared to past years.
Yeah, I just think we're sometimes tainting our minds with previous years. And gosh, what was his name? I can't think of it. That big center he was just
Krutwig.
really ugly. Krutwig.
Ogre,
Yeah, Krutwig not being there is a huge loss for them. Lucas Williamson is the MVC Defensive Player of the Year. He's a stud defensive player. I'm not going to take anything away from them. And Braden Norris, their shooting guard, is a white dude that can absolutely twack from 3. But I just think that their offense isn't as strong as it may be usually. They have a really good defense, but I think Ohio State edges them here. Okay, we got
I'm
number.
not gonna lie. Sorry, one other thing. I feel like they should be lower than a 10 seed. Like they should be like an 11, 12. Like
I agree.
They didn't even win the MVC in the regular season.
Yeah,
I guess I don't know how many 11 seeds are.
Well, and I think they were like even in going into the MVC tournament, they were like a 3 or 4 seed.
Right.
Okay, number 2 Villanova versus number 15 Delaware. I don't have a whole bunch to say here. I love Colin Gillespie, the guard for Villanova. Keep an eye on him. Number 2, he tore his ACL last season, was out all last year, but averaging 16 points per game this year. He's having a good year. He's a good leader. He knows how to win in March. Jay Wright is an awesome coach. He no longer wears the tailored suits that he normally would used to wear, but great coach, great team, really well balanced approach. They've had some really bad losses though throughout the year, which makes me nervous about Villanova, but I think they handled Delaware pretty easily.
I agree. I two seeds usually always win against 15 seed. I don't see it being any different. And like you said, Villanova is always a good defensive team. Delaware, not used to playing that competition. Villanova wins.
Yeah. All right, Arizona TCU. I'm not going to talk too much in depth of this one. I think TCU's luck runs out pretty early. I think Arizona with Benedict Mathurin and the other players that they have on that team pretty much dominate this round of 32 game.
I think the stat says all his points per game. I don't know. Arizona is one of the highest tempo teams in the country. I don't know if TCU can get to 70 points, 75 points to outduel Arizona.
Yeah,
I
they're
got
good.
Arizona.
I agree. They're a good team defensively. I don't think they can keep up with them offensively. So I pick Arizona. Houston versus Chattanooga. This is a tough one. I actually had in my bracket Illinois advancing and then Illinois beating Houston in the round of 32 to go to the Sweet 16. But like we talked about, Chattanooga has a lot of good players, a lot of D1 Power 5 talent on their team. However, I think Houston's with their athleticism, their defense, their tournament experience, I think they edge Chattanooga here.
Again, I got Houston. I think they're an underseeded team. Kelvin Sampson's a good coach. Chattanooga, it's hard to, as a mid-major, it's hard to beat two like top 20 perennial or annual top 25 teams throughout the season in a row. I think that's a tough ask. One's doable, two's pretty unlikely. So just based off those odds, I'm going with Houston.
Their luck runs out in the
Luck
round of
runs out,
32.
yep.
This is one in one of my brackets. I'll probably pick Chattanooga just because I think I like them. But like you said, it's.
I do like
tough.
Chattanooga. I do. Yeah, I do like them too.
Yeah,
There's a chance. I just don't think it's that high.
If I had to pick a low seeded team to make it to the Sweet 16, Chattanooga is at the top of my list.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
we
yet you had
got.
them losing to Illinois first round.
I know. I
I'm just
think
kidding.
I think that Illinois Chattanooga is a really tough matchup for
It's a
Chattanooga.
tough game.
So if Chattanooga beats Illinois, I think they could beat Houston. But let's go Michigan versus Tennessee. I don't have much to talk about here. I think Michigan's not going to be able to hang with Tennessee. Tennessee's hot. I think, like you said, Tennessee, this might be their year to get over that hump. Rick Barnes' team, he's struggled in tournaments in the past, but I think that they're a solid team defensively. They're long, they're athletic. I think they beat Michigan here.
Look at Michigan's record versus the top 25, 2-7. That's not very conducive with beating Tennessee. I agree. I got Tennessee.
Terrible color matchup. Tennessee versus Michigan.
That is a bad matchup, honestly.
Then we got number 7 Ohio State versus number 2 Villanova. I think Ohio State, barely squeaked it out versus Loyola Chicago. I think it was a close game, like you said, in the 50s or 60s. I think Villanova offensively can have the advantage here, and with their experience and their coaching, I think that they can beat Ohio State in the round of 32 and move on to the Sweet 16.
I agree. There's usually a 2 seed to bounce out early. I don't think Ohio State's great. I'm not very sold on the Big Ten. And I just think Villanova. Did Villanova win the Big East tournament?
Yeah. They beat Creighton in the championship.
Yeah. So I think 9-1 in the last 10. Ohio State's 5-5. Those are some. Yeah,
They
I like
barely
that.
lost to UConn.
Yeah, barely lost to UConn. I just think Ohio State's woefully inconsistent, and so for that reason, I'm gonna go Villanova.
Ohio State's really consistent. Yeah, that's a great point. Okay, we're in agreement, sir. We got Arizona versus Houston. I think this is going to be a really tough matchup. Actually, I think Houston defensively can hold Arizona and keep them under control. I think it's going to be a pretty close game. I don't think Houston can hang with Arizona offensively, and I think that Arizona pulls through and wins this game.
Yeah, I got Arizona going far in mine. For the reasons you said, and Houston, yeah, like they'll get stuck offensively, and even though we talk about Arizona's offense being really good, they still have a really solid defense too. So I'm in agreement with you.
For a guy that like you that thinks about years past, are you worried about Arizona and their tournament record in the past? I feel like they've choked a lot in tournaments.
Yeah.
Hey, but it's the 25-year anniversary of them winning the national championship in 1997.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So we're going deep. We're going deep, boys.
Team of Destiny, Arizona.
Yeah, but they got a new coach. Sean Miller's not there. This guy's from Gonzaga. He's been an assistant coach, at least in the tournament, for the last 20 years. So experience is there. It's a worry of mine. I can definitely see the criticism, but like since the coach was at Gonzaga, he's got experience, and I think it's all good.
Okay. We got Tennessee versus Villanova. This is a really interesting matchup. Tennessee's really tough. Defensively, they're long, they're athletic, they're really solid. But I think offensively, they're usually good defensively. I think offensively, they bring more to the table this year than they have in years past. Like I mentioned, Josiah Jordan James, number 30, Kennedy Chandler, number 1. I think that they provide enough offense. Look for Santiago Vescovi, number 25. He's a really good 3-point shooter. I think that they can edge Villanova here defensively for sure, and then offensively as well. But something to note for Nova, they're the number 1 team in the country from a free throw standpoint. So if it's a close game down the stretch and Villanova has the edge as far as the lead towards the end, I think that they could secure the win by making free throws down the stretch.
This one's tough to pick for me because Villanova played Tennessee, and I know for our logic earlier we had Gonzaga beating Duke, but Villanova beat Tennessee by like 18 points, and so. But I'm in agreement with you. I like Tennessee, just based off that they're hot from the tournament, and I think even though Villanova's great defensively, like the Big East is not as good as conference as the SEC. So I'll agree with you. I got Tennessee. I think this region's kind of set up for Tennessee and Arizona to meet in the Elite Eight.
One thing that's wild, and I'm not big into like looking at basic stats like this. Like I don't think it says much, but it's wild how similar these two teams are. Net rank 7-8.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. That's why I think it's hard to pick because I think they're vastly similar.
Similar resumes, similar teams. They're both hot, and you're in agreement. So I'm going with Tennessee, but I'll take that extra point for the seed. If it's 50-50, I'm going with the 3 over the 2.
That's a really good matchup. Yeah, I will say that. Arizona, Tennessee. This is another really tough one for me. Another not very good color matchup. But I think Arizona, from their offensive prowess that they have a star player in Benedict Mathurin. I just think that they can provide enough offense, and they also play good defense as well. But like you mentioned earlier, Josh, really high tempo. I think that if they keep the game at their pace, Tennessee won't be able to keep up.
Yeah, Rick Barnes, this is kind of the point where he gets in the tournament and then he ends up losing. He's only made the Final Four once in 30 years of coaching in 2003. So
What a loser.
I mean, it's still great. Don't get me wrong, it's still great. But again, I think Arizona, like you said, even though Tennessee does have like the 3rd best defense in the country, I think Elite Eight games are. I don't know. I had Arizona winning mine, so like it's hard to me. I don't want to argue against who I picked, so I'm going with Arizona. Craig, any thoughts?
No, I think one thing that I like about Arizona is because they play so fast and they're so good, like the more possessions per game, the lesser chance of an upset. And so if it's a big game and they're getting the most possessions, I think the better team is more likely to win. And I think the better team.
And the Arizona's got that what's his name, David?
Benedict Mathurin.
Yeah. Tennessee doesn't really have like their go-to guy, in my opinion. Yep. Or it's like some big guy that like and guards win NCAA tournaments games. So I like Arizona at the end of the day.
Yep. All right. Well, we've got 1v1 at the top of the bracket.
Yeah, that's kind of lame. But okay.
To the east.
Yeah, I think we should stop this recording and move on to the east in the next recording. So this was episode 12B. So stay tuned for episode 12C for the east region of the bracket. Thank you everyone for listening.